I remember that night I launched Facebook from that little dorm in Kirkland House. I went to Noakes with my friend KX, and I remember telling him clearly that I was excited to help connect the Harvard community, but one day someone would connect the whole world. The thing is, it never even occurred to me that that someone might be us. We were just college kids. We didn't know anything about that. There were all these great big technology companies with all these resources, and I just assumed one of them would do it. But this idea was so clear to us that all people want to connect. So we just kept working on it, day after day after day. And I know that a lot of you are going to have your own stories just like this. A change in the world that seems so clear that you are sure someone else is going to do it. But they're not. You will. But it's not enough to have that purpose yourself. You also have to create a sense of purpose for others. And I found that out the hard way. You see, my hope was never to build a company. I wanted to have an impact. And as all these people started joining us, I just assumed that that's what they wanted to do too. So I never took the time to explain what it was that I hoped we'd build. A couple of years in, some big companies wanted to buy us. I didn't want to sell. I wanted to see if we could connect more people. And we were building the first version of Newsfeed at the time, and I thought, if we could just launch this, it could change how we all learn about the world. Nearly everyone else wanted to sell. Without a sense of higher purpose, this was their startup dream come true, and it tore our company apart. After one particularly tense argument, one of my close advisors told me if I didn't agree to sell the company right now, I would regret that decision for the rest of my life. Relationships were so frayed that within a year or so, every single person on our management team was gone. That was my hardest time leading Facebook. I believed in what we were doing, but I felt alone. And worse, it was my fault. I wondered if I was just wrong, an imposter, a 22-year-old kid who had no idea how things actually worked. Now, years later, I understand that that is how things work when there's no sense of higher purpose. So it's up to all of us to create it so we can all keep moving forward together. And today, I want to talk about 3 ways that we can create a world where everyone has a sense of purpose. By taking on big, meaningful projects together. By redefining equality so everyone has the freedom to pursue their purpose. And by building community all across the world. So first, let's take on big, meaningful projects. Our generation is going to have to deal with tens of millions of jobs replaced by automation like self-driving cars and trucks. But we have the potential to do so much more than that. Every generation has its defining works. More than 300,000 people worked to put that man on the moon, including that janitor. Millions of volunteers immunized children around the world against polio, and millions of more people built the Hoover Dam and other great projects. And now it's our generation's turn to do great things. Now I know, maybe you're thinking, I don't know how to build a dam. I don't know how to get 1 million people involved in anything. Well, let me tell you a secret. No one does when they begin. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. If I had to know everything about connecting people before I got started, I never would have built Facebook. Movies and pop culture just get this all wrong. The idea of a single eureka moment is a dangerous lie. It makes us feel inadequate because we feel like we haven't had ours yet. And it prevents people with seeds of good ideas from ever getting started in the first place. Oh, and you know what else movies get wrong about innovation? No one writes math formulas on glass, okay? Facebook wasn't the first thing I built. I also built chat systems and games, study tools and music players, and I'm not alone. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before she finally wrote and published Harry Potter. Even Beyonce had to make hundreds of songs to get Halo. The greatest successes come from having the freedom to fail. Now, today, we have a level of wealth inequality that hurts everyone. When you don't have the freedom to take your idea and turn it into a historic enterprise, we all lose. And right now, today, our society is way over-indexed on rewarding people when they're successful, and we don't do nearly enough to make sure that everyone can take lots of different shots. Now, let's face it. There is something wrong with our system when I can leave here and make billions of dollars in 10 years, while millions of students can't even afford to pay off their loans, let alone start a business. Look, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, and I don't know a single person who gave up on starting a business because they were worried they might not make enough money. But I know too many people who haven't had the chance to pursue their dreams because they didn't have a cushion to fall back on if they failed. We all know you don't get successful just by having a good idea or working hard. You get successful by being lucky too. If I had to support my family growing up instead of having the time to learn how to code, if I didn't know that I was going to be fine if Facebook didn't work out, then I wouldn't be standing up here today. And if we're honest, we all know how much luck we've had to get to this point in our lives. Every generation expands its definition of equality. Previous generations fought for the vote and civil rights. They had the New Deal and Great Society. And now it's time for our generation to define a new social contract. We should have a society that measures progress not just by economic metrics like GDP, but by how many of us have a role we find meaningful. We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. We're all going to change jobs and roles many times, so we need affordable childcare to get to work and healthcare that's not tied to just one employer. And we're all going to make mistakes. So we need a society that's less focused on locking us up and stigmatizing us when we do. And as our technology keeps on evolving, we need a society that is more focused on providing continuous education through our lives. And yes, giving everyone the freedom to pursue purpose isn't going to be free. People like me should pay for it. And a lot of you are going to do really well, and you should too. That is why Priscilla and I started the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and committed our wealth to promoting equal opportunity. These are the values of our whole generation. It was never a question of if we were going to do this. The only question was when. Millennials are already one of the most charitable generations in history. In just 1 year, more than 3 in 4 US millennials donated to charity, and more than 7 in 10 raised money for another one. But it's not just about giving money. You can also give time. And I promise you, if you just take an hour or two a week, that's all it takes to give someone a hand and help them reach their potential. Now, maybe you're thinking, that's a lot of time. I'm not sure if I have that much time. I used to think that. You know, when Priscilla graduated from Harvard, she became a teacher. And before she'd do education work with me, she told me that I needed to get my own experience teaching a class. At first, I complained. I said, you know, I'm kind of busy. I'm running this company. But she insisted. So I taught an after-school program at the local Boys and Girls Club on entrepreneurship. I taught those kids lessons on product development and marketing, and they taught me what it was like growing up feeling targeted for your race, and what it's like having a family member in prison. I shared stories of my time in school, and they shared their hope that one day they would get to go to college too. For 5 years, I've had dinner with those students every month. One of them even threw Priscilla and me our first baby shower. And next year, they're going to college. Every one of them, first generation in their families. We can all make time to give someone a hand. Let's give everyone the freedom to pursue purpose, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because when more people can turn their dreams into something great, we are all better for it.
In your life, what is your greatest regret?
Oh. You know, I really don't have regrets. I am a person that says, you know, as soon as you look back in your history and you come up with something that you feel like you want to change, something else has to change. You know, so.
What about your biggest disappointment?
Once again, that's the same analogy. You know, disappointment to me, to win, you got to lose. To be successful, you got to have something that's not successful. To be happy, you got to have disappointment. So I think all of those things have evolved and happened to make me who I am and understand the benefits and the privileges I have for being who I am, you know, and not to wear it on my sleeve, be very humble about it. That's one thing my parents taught me very well is, you know, don't wear your reputation, don't wear your accolades, don't wear your, you know, your personality on your sleeve. Let it happen, let it be you. It is who you are. Don't hide from it, but don't wear it and rub it in people's faces. So, you know, when you sit there and you say, well, you know, in 1990 or 2005, they voted me as like the best or the most popular athlete, you know, well, it's ironic that I'm the youngest of the three. So in essence, it's all relevated on who is watching now. If you ask 20 years from now, I'm pretty sure LeBron may beat me, you know, based on who's going to be making the voting. So I say that to understand that, you know, it is what it is. You know, I don't wear it. I don't showcase it. I don't rub it in other people's faces. Someone else's opinion. If you ask me, I can never give you an opinion about things like that because as an athlete, all you want to do is be the best athlete.
I don't know, Serena. You're kind of, I don't know. There's never been anybody like you. When you think about it, never been anybody who has intersect gender and race the way you have, the dominance that you have and the scrutiny that you have. Yes. And when you were growing up, did you say, I want to be like that? Because now little girls are looking at you saying, I want to be like that. Who was the I want to be like that for you?
Well, it's interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up. For me, when I grew up, I always wanted to be the best. And I said, if you want to be the best, got to emulate the best. So when I started to go on tour when I was really young, I would see Steffi Graf, I would see Monica Seles, and I would even see Pete Sampras, and I would see what they did. And I noticed that Steffi and Monica didn't really talk to a lot of the other players, and they kind of were on their own, and they were just so focused. And I would see that Pete Sampras, the technique that he did, and I was like, I want to do that. So I did that, and I felt like to be the best, and if you want to be the best, you have to hang around people and you have to look at people that are the best, because you're not going to be the best if you're looking at someone that's not at the top level. So that's
but people say nobody works as hard as you.
I'm a very hard worker.
Oh, that's what I heard about you.
And a lot of people say, oh, she's talented, she's athletic. No, actually I wasn't. I was really small for my age. I grew up when I got older. And I had to work really hard. And I think that's one of the reasons why I fight so hard and I work so hard, is because I was really, really, really small.
Yeah.
And
you are no longer small.
No,
you are no longer small.
But I was small when I was really young for whatever reason. I think Venus maybe ate all the Wheaties.
No, you know, the other thing people talk about is your body. Your body brings men and women to their knees. Mm-hmm. And a lot has been, and I mean in a good way, a lot has been made about your body. It's a work of art, It's masculine, it's glorious, there's never been anything like it. Do you have body issues when you were growing up? Have you always been comfortable with your body?
It's interesting because when you're a teenage female growing up in the public eye, it is a lot of scrutiny that you face. And as any female that's a teenager, I definitely was not comfortable in my body. I didn't like it. I didn't understand why I had muscles. I didn't understand and I stopped lifting weights. I was like, I'm not going to do this. But then after I won the US Open, I realized that my body helped me reach goals that I wanted to reach. And I wanted to be happy with it. And I was so appreciative of it. And I'm always healthy. I'm really fortunate and super blessed. And I felt like not only am I happy with my body, but I want other people and other young girls that have experienced what I've experienced to be happy with themselves. So whatever people say, masculine, whatever, too much, too little, I'm okay with it as long as I love myself.
Honesty and above all, empathy. Honesty and above all, empathy. I have to say that the single most important lesson I learned in 25 years talking every single day to people was that there's a common denominator in our human experience. Most of us, I tell you, we don't want to be divided. What we want, the common denominator that I found in every single interview, is we want to be validated. We want to be understood. I've done over 35,000 interviews in my career. And as soon as that camera shuts off, everyone always turns to me and inevitably in their own way asks this question: was that okay? I heard it from President Bush. I heard it from President Obama. I've heard it from heroes and from housewives. I've heard it from victims and perpetrators of crimes. I even heard it from Beyonce and all of her Beyonce-ness. She finishes performing, hands me the microphone and says, was that okay? Friends and family, yours, enemies, strangers, in every argument, in every encounter, every exchange, I will tell you, they all want to know one thing. Was that okay? Did you hear me? Do you see me? Did what I say mean anything to you? And even though this is the college where Facebook was born, my hope is that you will try to go out and have more face-to-face conversations with people you may disagree with. That you'll have the courage to look them in the eye and hear their point of view, and help make sure that the speed and distance and anonymity of our world doesn't cause us to lose our ability to stand in somebody else's shoes and recognize all that we share as a people. This is imperative for you as an individual and for our success as a nation. There has to be some way that this darkness can be banished with light. Says the man whose little boy was massacred on just an ordinary Friday in December. So whether you call it soul or spirit or higher self, intelligence, there is, I know this, there's a light inside each of you, all of us, that illuminates your very human beingness if you let it. And as a young girl from rural Mississippi, I learned long ago that being myself was much easier than pretending to be Barbara Walters. Although when I first started, because I had Barbara in my head, I would try to sit like Barbara, talk like Barbara, move like Barbara. And then one night I was on the news, reading the news, and I called Canada, Canada. And that was the end of me being Barbara. I cracked myself up on TV, couldn't stop laughing, and my real personality came through. And I figured out, oh gee, I can be a much better Oprah than I could be a pretend Barbara.
My mom, she would give me food. When she'd feed me, she was programming me. How many of you are programmed by your parents? Eat it all. How many got this message when you got food and eat it all? I'm like, I'm full. Eat it all. There's people starving on this planet. I'm not one of them. I'm full. Eat it. Okay? And if you didn't eat it, you had to put it in the refrigerator. Right or wrong? How many of you got food in your refrigerator right now? You're in Miami and back home, you're still saving last Tuesday's meal. Because you think small. Okay? Open up your freezer when you go home. I'll tell you if you're middle class. Open up your freezer. There's some ice cream in your freezer, some Ben & Jerry's. They got this much left in it. They got more frost than they got ice cream. And you're saving it, man. You're saving it. You got all these little Ziploc containers. You're saving stuff. Why? You're saving stuff because you're worried about not creating stuff. Right? I just want to create a bigger top line. So what I do right here is this, okay? Anytime I'm short on creativity, I know that I need to look at creativity is the solution to that $10 billion. Would you agree? If I'm short on creativity, if the $10 billion exists, if $4 million of income exists, okay? If you guys think, hey, I could do 400 grand or I could do $1 million or I could do 4 million. If that money exists, if that's a reality, then what I need to look at is not the creativity. I need to look at the commitment because creativity follows commitment. Where you lack creativity, handling an objection, following somebody up, grabbing business from somebody else, stealing something, a deal that's done, undermining that deal and taking that deal, you lack creativity, right? And the moment I don't think big enough on my income, I will lack creativity where all the solutions, I lack commitment, which will produce the creativity necessary to get those extra deals. The money exists. The potential is there. The opportunity is there. Your space is enormous. What I have to do, whether I'm going into a new sales job, making a sales call myself, or whether I'm trying to start a new business or a new division, is I have to start with the top line of the business. Okay? As a salesperson, salespeople sometimes don't think in terms of top lines. They think in terms of their sales. I would tell you to create a department, okay? And your department would be a new business for yourself. And going into 2019 and 2020, you would say, hey, what could I do between March? Are we still in March? Or April? We in April? We're in April, okay? So April to April, the next 12 months, not the last 8 months, April to April, how would I build a $4 million business? How could I do that? How many customers would I need? How many phone calls would I have to make? How many letters out? How many contacts? How many visits? If the $4 million is real, okay, is the $4 million real? Is it real? No, I can't hear you. Is it real? Yes. God damn, y'all don't need to wait till you drink to get excited. You better get excited now, because if you're not going to get excited now, nobody will give you this money. Nobody will give you this money. Money follows attention. How much attention can I get in the marketplace is where money goes. Money does not go to the best product, ever. Money does not go to the best product. Money does not go to the happiest place either. Money goes to where attention goes. Whoever gets the most attention gets the most money. Action, massive action, has always worked. It's proven itself for thousands of years. This is not a new concept. You show me somebody, and we know their name, anybody in the room, any famous person that you can think of. Anybody that we would both know. You say, I'm going to mention their name, and Grant will know who that is. Give me a name of one person. Tiger Woods. Massive action. Persistent, massive action. Okay? Okay, how many people were watching the Open yesterday? Yeah, exactly. Why? Because Tiger was in it. Attention. Money follows attention. Money follows attention. How much attention can you get? Even bad attention. Okay? I'm going to tell you something. What Tiger went through in the last decade helped him. You got more white people pulling for Tiger Woods, right? They're like, Tiger, grown white men, Tiger. And we say there's division in this country. Tiger, I love Tiger. Right? Why? Because they love a comeback, man. The guy got a lot of attention. Okay, who else? Give me another name. Okay, who else? Give me another name.